Hey, you made it to day 4. Congratulations. I have nothing but respect for you. I've been saying that all throughout. If you spent this much time and you've gotten this far, great. In day 4, as we've been building up to for the last several days, we're going to build an entire application from beginning to end. It might take a little while, but we're going to work our way through it. And what I'm going to build is a one-note application to rule them all. We're going to build a note-taking application that will retrieve the geolocation using the geo or the location API within the Windows Phone, and using an external web service like we did in day 3. And we're going to allow the user to write a note. We're going to save those notes to isolated storage. We're going to allow editing if the user shuts down the phone or uses the back button to end the application or get to the main page using the start button. We're going to account for that as well. Let me demonstrate how the application works. First of all, you can see that in the emulator I have an application open, and it's called ZapNote. Now, I wanted to name it something else, quite frankly, and if you've ever gone out and tried to buy a domain name or make sure you're not stepping on somebody else's copyrighted or trademark name, it's almost impossible. However, I was able to find Zap, for the deployment package for Silverlight, ZapNote. It's the best I could do. Any rate, so you can see here that the first thing that I have is a help screen. If I click on the little help button in the app bar, we can close that and then click the plus button to add a new note. Here I'm just going to start typing in some stuff, and then I'm going to hit the save button, and when I save, it went out and grabbed where I'm sitting in the world, and it uses that as the title of the note as well as the date. This will also work in landscape mode, made sure that all the pages were able to account for that orientation. And by clicking on a note, you can open it up then and view it. You can edit it by clicking the edit button and make additional changes and save the note. You can click the delete button. It'll ask you, are you sure you want to delete the note? And you can cancel out of that. You can return back to the main notes page. You can click on it one more time. Let's delete it this time. And you can see it's been removed. So it's pretty full featured. There's one other feature here too. If I am working on adding a new note, for example, this will also work while you're editing. But if I'm adding a new note and then I hit the start button, now if I return back to the application, it will load me back up to where I left off. So I thought that was a neat little feature and it would be helpful. There are times when I've used note-taking applications on phones and it got a little dumb on me, and I lost the work that I had been working on. So this is an important feature to me. But at any rate, let me just talk through the process that I went through to develop this application. First of all, I'll start with the concept. Some of the guys from Microsoft suggested that I build an application like this. So it got the wheels turning, and I started thinking, what would I like to see in a note-taking application that also accounts for your geolocation? So I started, in my mind, taking some mental notes. I sat down with a couple of sheets of paper and started sketching through how I wanted the screens to flow, what functionality I would need, what functionality I would like to have but might be a little bit too complicated to add into this first pass at building a Windows Phone application, especially to a beginner audience. But if I was working in a corporation or with a group of other developers, the process that I would go through to design the application might be dramatically different than just me sitting in my office by myself and working on it. So you just might want to keep that in mind. The formality and the amount of work that you have to do to design an application depends on the complexity, depends on who you're working with or working for, and how much of that you need to communicate to each other. The more people you need to communicate to, probably the more design work and design artifacts that you can use to communicate your design to other stakeholders. In our case, we want to keep it very simple. If you ever need to learn about those kinds of things, there are many articles and videos on Microsoft.com, on the internet at large, and I also discuss some of those things on my website. But at any rate, there were some limitations as I sat down to build the application. I wanted to stay within the vocabulary of topic matter that we've already discussed throughout the previous 3 days. So that limited the approaches that I took in designing the application. I probably would have made some different choices here and there to simplify some things for me, but it would have required more effort to explain those things to you, and I decided to hold off on that. But I'm probably going to, after this series is over, continue to develop this application. I'm going to put it out on the marketplace for free and get feedback from people, see what they hate about it and what maybe they like about it, other suggestions for features and functions that they would like to see incorporated. I'll probably reorganize the code over time to take advantage of some design patterns and some other features, maybe like saving the data to a centralized database, maybe on like Azure, which is Microsoft's cloud computing platform. So there are some interesting things that I could do with this in the future, and I hope to. And probably what will happen is that as I incorporate that feedback, I'll create additional videos on my website, www.learnvisualstudio.net, that you'll be able to watch. So as you can see, I've already built this application one time, and I'm probably going to try and use the lessons that I've learned and rewrite this application from memory as much as possible. If I were to get stuck, I might refer back to how I did something. I'll try to cut that out, quite honestly. But for the most part, I'm going to leave my mistakes in, any missteps along the way, to show you my thought process and where I could have made a change or opportunities for improvement in the application. And you'll begin to see that as you build an application, it's a lot less like chiseling a statue out of stone and a lot more like molding a statue out of clay, where you're continually molding and shaping and pushing and pulling over the course of time, as opposed to you get it right the first time or you got to start all over from scratch. Software development is not like that. There's a notion, a word called refactoring, which is popular among developers, which means making small incremental improvements. So I'll build a little bit, I'll test it, I'll take note mentally what I want to change, I'll back up, make the fix, test it, observe, make another step forward, test it, make some fixes, and so on. You just keep iteratively through that process until you have something that you're proud of. Developing software is a lot like developing artwork in this regard, that some say that a piece of art is never completely finished, or an artist would always like to continue to add more features or redo things, and a lot of developers find themselves in that same mindset. At any rate, I'm going to try and keep the tone of this video for day 4 rather casual and conversational. I'll try to refer you back to video topics that we've already discussed in case you need a refresher on a certain topic. I just want to also emphasize that you're going to see that I write notes a lot in my code to remind myself of what I'm trying to do. You're going to see that I'm constantly cleaning up the code. I may name something and then back up and name it differently. You'll see me doing that. You'll also see that I don't go for long periods of time without testing my code inside the emulator, because I want to make sure that the changes that I'm making are not breaking things or are actually accomplishing what I'm intending. I don't write code for a half hour and then test it once at the very end. People who do that probably spend more time in the debugger than in the code window. So I think that's enough for now. Let's go ahead and get started. Good luck. Try to follow along, or if you have any questions, I'm sure there'll be a forum or some way that we can talk about this. So see you in the next video. Thank you.